Okay, back in the late 50s, early 60s, we did not have a ground, and we have an older breaker box here from that time period. It's made by Federal Pacific. Here in the country I was born in, we use 12 American wire gauge on 20 amps, 14 American wire gauge on 15 amps. Black is live, white is neutral, and back then there was no ground until 1965. The ground came in mandatory in the NEC, the National Electrical Code. But we're going to put these two branch circuits into this Federal Pacific panel. This is a tutorial to show you how it was done back in the 1950s and 60s, and maybe even back into the late 40s. So we have the cloth wire here. We're going to cut through our outer jacket. We're just going to come down the middle with our knife. Careful not to cut the wires underneath. Down here at the end, I'll go deep and hard. And then you'll see this cloth piece in here. See the cloth? This rope. You pull that. Now this wire could be from the 20s, the 30s, and it was used probably up into the 40s. So we'll clip off our outer jacket here. And then we'll clip our rope off here. That was to tear the outer jacket off. We have another one here. Now we can take our coating off the wires. This is a cardboard coating here, so we'll just loosen this all up. This is cloth rubber insulation. It was used probably up until the 50s, until they came out with vinyl. They probably came out with vinyl like in the late 40s or early 50s, but they were probably still making the cloth and rubber for a while too. So we'll get all our paper off of here. And we'll come all the way back up to where our wire comes in here. We'll take all our paper off. Okay, now we'll take our paper off the other one here. Federal Pacific had some issues where the circuit breakers were not working properly. They weren't tripping when they were supposed to. So if you have one, you might want to take that box out and have a newer, like a GE or a Siemens or a squared EQO breaker box or a Homeline or Cutler hammer. So we're just going back in time to show you how it was done back then. Now if you look at these two older wires here, you'll see a black tracer. There's 4 black tracers on this wire, and this one has no tracers on it. This is going to be your live wire, and this is going to be your neutral. So now we have the other wire. This is probably slightly newer. It's probably from the late 40s, very early 50s. And we'll go all the way up to the back here, and we'll come down carefully down through here, not to cut into our wires. And again, we have a little cord in here that we can rip our jacket with. It's a thinner one. It's like almost as thin as like your this is vinyl coated wire here. Floss, dental floss. It's a little bit thicker than dental floss, but not much. So we gotta go down a little bit more. So there was a time period when there was cloth on the outside and vinyl on the inside. And just cut in the middle there. And we'll get our cloth out of here. And we'll get all our paper off here. Here in the country I was born in, you always put 14 gauge wire, which is your minimum for branch circuits, on a 15 amp circuit breaker. You can put number 12 on a 20 amp breaker. Number 12 is a little bit heavier. And number 10 goes on a 30 amp breaker. And that's always been the code. And there are some instances where the white wire could be live, such as a 240 volt water heater or an electric baseboard heater. And the amperage rating is the same for 120 and 240. 14 on 15 amps, 12 on 20 amps, 10 on 30 amps. So we have our wires ready to go. We're going to clip this last bit of debris off up here. So we'll clip it off up here. Okay, so now we're ready to put our circuit breakers in. So we'll bring our white wire up to the top of the panel here like this. Come around, come down, right about here, and we'll bend it to go in right there. And you'll see on the strippers the wire gauges. You always strip with the hole that matches your wire gauge. So we're using 14 and it's on a 15 amp breaker. Okay, so we push it up, bring it down, and we'll bring it in right here. We'll make sure our wire goes into the hole all the way and our insulation doesn't get caught under the terminal. Okay, we'll make sure it's in all the way and we'll just crank this down real nice and snug. Push our wire back so it's all nice and neat here. So this is the Federal Pacific stab lock breaker. You can identify them with the red handle. So you put it in your box like this here, set it in this piece like this, and you push it in like that. Okay, so we'll bring our black wire down along the back here, come down, keep it in the corner there. We'll come up to where our breaker is going to be, and we have it just about long enough here. So we'll just cut a little off there so it's not too long. Strip it with our 14 gauge hole. You'll see the hole inside there. You make sure your insulation doesn't get caught under in the terminal there, and you make sure your copper goes up all the way. Okay, you'll notice down is on, up is off. They're opposite of your regular other brand of breakers. So we'll put it in our box like this, set it in, and push this copper piece into the slot here, and it's in. So we got our first breaker into the box. Our wire's all nice and straight here and neat. So we'll hook up our older wires. So we have our one with the black tracer on it. There's 4 of them. This is our live wire. This is our neutral. So we'll bring our neutral, we'll bring it back to the back of the box here. We'll bring it along the corner up here, come up, we'll bring it down, and we'll go in right over here. You put your 15 and 20 amp circuit breakers in the same way with your 20 amps with number 12 wire and your 14 on 15 amps. You do them both the same way. And we'll put our wire in the slot there, make sure our insulation is not caught in the terminal there, make sure it's in all the way. We'll make sure it's nice and tight, our wire is nice and neat in here. Okay, now we'll stick our other circuit breaker in. Put it in the off position. And we'll set it in our box here. Push it in like that. We'll bring our live wire down along the back of the box. Come across. We'll bring it up. And we'll strip it about right here. I'll clip a little off because it's a little long. Again, we'll stick our wire up under our terminal there, make sure our insulation doesn't get caught in the terminal. And I'll make sure it's really nice and snug. Push it in like that. Now we'll straighten our wire out so it's nice and neat there. Get our debris out of the box here. So that is how to wire 2 branch circuits, 120 volts, 15 or 20 amps, into a Federal Pacific panel back in the 1950s and 60s. Peace. Thanks for watching.